We're here at Officers Row in Fort Vancouver. The U.S. Army arrived here when it was the Hudson Bay Fur Trading Depot back in 1849. In 1980, the city of Vancouver purchased 19 of these structures, like the one behind me, for $1 from the Veterans Administration. Thanks for joining us on Comcast Newsmakers. I'm Ken Ackerman. Well, a flood that happened 14 years ago is still having devastating effects on a local community. For more, we turn to Tony Hyde, who is Columbia County Commissioner. And Tony, let's talk about Vernonia and where it's located and why Vernonia has a tendency to flood.
Well, first of all, we didn't know that Vernonia had a tendency to flood until we flooded twice with two 500-year floods in 11 years, which was the 96 flood and the 07 flood. Now we know we have a tendency to flood. And the major reason is because we have the confluence of two major streams in the center of town. And when you have 6 inches of rain compounded with other weather issues, you end up with some pretty significant waters.
So you were the mayor during the 96 floods.
Correct.
You had to rebuild everything after that, and then 07 comes along.
07 comes along.
Now, are you going to rebuild in the same place? You're going to build on stilts, move, what? What's going to go on?
All of the above. Well, first of all, we thought that 96 was an anomaly.
Right.
What we now know is we have a pattern, and it would be irresponsible to rebuild in the same place. So we're either removing the buildings and building them in another place in higher ground, which is what we're doing with the school system, or we're raising and elevating the facilities. We've raised probably 80 homes in the last 2 years since the 07 flood. And with the help of the voters, who first of all passed a bond for $1.90 a thousand, the federal government, the state government, and some philanthropic programs, we're replacing the entire school system.
Now, school system is going to cost in the neighborhood of $40 million?
38.
Upwards of 38 to 40 million to replace.
North of 35.
Well, where is the money coming from? I mean, do you have it already, or are you still hoping the federal government's going to come through?
Well, let me break it down for you.
Okay.
First of all, the voters, again, they passed a $1.90 a thousand bond.
Which raised?
Which raised $13 million.
Okay.
We have a FEMA buyout program, which we now have a waiver from FEMA, thanks to our federal delegation, which allows us to access available money right now that FEMA has to do the buyout program. In other words, we replace it. They'll buy the old ground, it becomes public property, never to be built on again, and we take that money and rebuild the school. We're hoping that's going to be somewhere around $8 to $10 million. And we've got quite a bit of philanthropic effort going on. As an example, Northwest Natural stood up and said, we're going to make a $100,000 donation. And we encourage all of the businesses in the community to do the same, because this is an Oregon issue.
Now, speaking of businesses in your community, have many of them left? Have many of the residents left?
We have lost a number of residents, mostly because of the school system. Currently, and since 96 or 07, the kids are going to school in trailers. The school was inundated to the point where it had to be torn down. So they're in trailers, and frankly, it's going to be another year or two, and if you were a parent, your kids had 2 years left in school, and their only option for their future as far as high school was concerned would be trailers, you'd probably think about moving too.
Well, I know you have the bond to raise money for the school, but how are you keeping the economy of the community afloat?
We understand that Vernonia is in the center of forest, and unlike most of the state of Oregon, which is 52% owned by the federal government, Columbia County and the surrounding area in Vernonia is privately owned. So we have now recognized that that is in the middle of a laboratory, if you will. And so part of what we're doing in rebuilding the community is we're putting in a natural resource center, which will be a laboratory for all kinds of new research and development around carbon sequestration, biomass, and other things that are timber related that are on the cutting edge right now. And this is an opportunity to actually get in the forest and manage forest and exercise these new ideas, unlike the locked up forests.
Right. Tony Hyde, thank you very much for joining us on Comcast Newsmakers. We wish you the best, and we want you to make it a great day. I'm Ken Ackerman. Thanks for joining us.